Okay, we have participants being added. We'll start in another 2 seconds. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to TeamLease Digital webinar on the 20th of September. Green, known as the color of economy, symbolizes business renewals, emotional value, social and environmental growth. Green industry outlook, paving the way to a sustainable future, is the topic of our new report launching soon by TeamLease Digital and our CEO, Mr. Sunil C. This report outlines trends, developments, and prospects within the industries that prioritize sustainability, environmental responsibility, and eco-friendliness. In continuation to this report, we are here today holding a webinar that will reflect upon the diverse industries and businesses contributing towards green industry, the key growth drivers, top skill sets, addressing the demand-supply gap in the country today, and the growth enablers. We will also share insights on what are the new government initiatives, regulatory challenges, and how the country today is paving its way ahead towards the green industry. To discuss this, we have 3 eminent industry leaders with us that will share their views and perspective of how India is moving ahead towards the green jobs. Our first panelist for the day is Mr. Sundaresan. Mr. Sundaresan is a passionate green transformation, sustainability, procurement, digital transformation, and supply chain senior leader with more than 20 plus years of experience in the IT and manufacturing industry. He has hands-on experience of management across strategic, tactical, and operations, and in a wide-ranging techno-commercial environment, including outsourcing and establishing near-shore centers of excellence. In his current capacity, he is the head of Nissan Digital. In addition to having strong operations background, he is also an ardent follower of technology and loves to read about technological progress. He has received numerous awards for his contributions. We welcome you, Mr. Sundaresan, to the webinar today.
Thank you, Munira. Appreciate it. It's
Joining
my pleasure.
We have Mr. Yuvraj. With an impressive career spanning various sectors, Yuvraj has emerged as a versatile professional. He currently holds a prominent position in the industry, leveraging his expertise and leadership to drive innovation and growth. We are honored to have him share his insights today with us. Yuvraj is currently the head for e-mobility solutions for Volvo. With his previous stints with Sun Mobility, Lending Card, and Mahindra as a business head, Yuvraj has made several contributions within the green, sustainability, and ESG sectors. Welcome, Yuvraj.
Thank you, Munira. Glad to be here.
Our third panelist joining is the founder CEO of Urdhvam Environmental Technologies. Mr. Rahul has 30 plus years of experience in corporate and development sectors, particularly in the environmental sustainability, water audits, groundwater mapping and management, hydrogeological investments, stormwater management, and rainwater harvesting. I'm sure with all these words, we know that he's completely green around himself, and he would love to share his insights about his journey in this sector and industry through his experiences. Welcome, Mr. Rahul.
Thank you, Ms. Munira.
Joining us today with our 3 panelists, we have our CEO, our diverse CEO for TeamLease Digital, Mr. Sunil C, holding more than 25 years of experience across the industry. He's been in the staffing space for more than 15 plus years, donned various leadership roles, and as a CEO for specialized staffing and a member of the Indian Staffing Federation, Sunil is passionate about solving the digital people supply chain solutions to propel the India growth story. Sunil is also an ardent runner and has completed several marathons. Welcome you as well, Sunil, to the panelists.
Thank you, Munira.
So, Sunil, let's start with you since it's a topic of green industry and green growth for India. What are your views about the country today progressing in this segment?
I think, first of all, I would like to thank all the eminent personalities and speakers who have taken time and joined this webinar. I'm sure that our audiences and we all will learn a lot by end of this session about green jobs, ESG, and a lot of other terminologies which keep popping up in our newspapers and across the media of late. I'm sure that everybody is hearing a lot about that. I mean, jokingly, I can also say that, everybody can run so that you all can contribute to the green energy. So I think that's the other side. Coming back to the topic, it was interesting to do some research on this sector, since we are in the profession of providing jobs, helping our job seekers understand where they can look for jobs and creating a better opportunities and get better compensations for them. Ultimately, the vision of TeamLease is to put India to work. And in this process, with a new sector emerging, I would not say new, it has been there, but I think with more focus on green energy and green jobs and ESG, I'm sure there is a lot of work which is required, and there is a lot of discussions are required so that it reaches to everybody. Otherwise, we will end up having a sector where people are not aware. There are courses and there are syllabus additions in curriculums in college, etc. now happening, but I think there are a lot of people who are already in the market who may not know much about this sector, and that's the reason this webinar will definitely be a good medium through which we can let our audiences know about this sector, and with experts giving their opinion coming from various industries, different sectors. This is definitely going to be an interesting session to start with. So when we looked at this sector and we thought, let's come out with a paper and do some research, we started adding numbers. We started looking at all the sector, how India is doing, and how many jobs are there. So we were started to find that there around 20% of the workforce is already working in the green jobs, in the green sector, and the requirements are only going up, year on year. It is expected that by 2030 there are around 3.4 million new jobs which will get created in this sector, and this is very important to hire so many people or to fulfill so many jobs, because India has an ambitious vision of generating 500 gigawatt power from fossil fuel energy and non-fossil fuel energy. So which means that all these green energy sectors have to contribute, and that made us to look further into what is the demand supply gap, because that's where we come into play. So we need to quickly assess the industry and see what is the demand supply gap and how can we upskill people and how can we make this popular, how can we popularize this segment so that we have enough takers for this sector. So currently in the green jobs, there is around 38% demand supply gap, and in the ESG sector, there is around 48% demand supply gap. So considering that there is a huge gap already, so we are starting with a gap. Normally any new sector, when it comes in and when it takes time for people to understand this sector. I think one interesting aspect for India is that anything we start, we can quickly ramp up. We can move up the numbers very fast because of one, in this sector we have a huge landmass, a huge coastal belt, Plus, we also are a country where the GDP growth is consistent, and we are definitely going to be a superpower. So, and it is backed by a huge working population, the demographic dividend. So anything you start here can quickly give you quick returns. Just like take an example of mobile. I think the data usage or the mobile penetration, we are already second largest in the world because of our sheer size and the adaptability in our country. Similarly, I think green jobs, if we properly communicate and explain to all the job seekers, I think this demand supply gap can be quickly closed on, and we can have a lot of people coming into this sector. And it is very essential for a country like us, where the usage and the the adoption rates currently are very low. There is a lot of talk, but in terms of real adoption and in terms of practice, I'm sure the experts would give us a view on what do they think about the practice. There are government regulations, and government is also pushing all the sectors, all the companies to get into focusing on this. Like we had DEI earlier, where diversity, and inclusion, but we are still far away in that, particular focus area. Overall, India is still lagging behind. The women contribution is only 22% of the total workforce, and only in IT we see a 36% contribution. Even in green energy, we see that the women participation is very less. In fact, it can be much more than what it is now. So overall, an interesting segment, lot of things we could understand from this, but I think we would want to know more from the experts. We want to, I think Munira has prepared a list of questions we would want to ask you and understand more, and wherever we have some research points, we'll definitely pitch in. Thanks, Munira, for that opportunity.
Absolutely. So my first discussion will be with Mr. Sundaresan, and Mr. Sundaresan, Sunil put a very valid point, rather two of his points that I would like to pick, and we speak about it. One is largely that the demand gap, the skill demand gap that we are speaking about, and second is the awareness. Looking at both of these subjects, what is your point of view of the current state of the green job sector in India? How it has impacted? Has it actually impacted? What do you see the trend as?
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the TeamLease to invite all of us to speak here. Appreciate it. Let me tell you, this has been there in our culture and our tradition. Okay, there's nothing new. Of course, the new word is sustainability. If you look at, just to give you an example, right, we have been using probably our elders' books previously. But the new era changed, where you have to go and buy books for every time. So what we are trying to save is the paper and the ink, the whole requirement itself. It was all there. We probably lost it. We were a linear thinking economy or people as a mindset, but that's what really got changed. Of course, with the coming up of sustainability as a concept, new jobs have really come up, right? The green transportation, the sustainable construction of the building itself, the whole ecosystem, what is the waste management related aspect, environmental, everybody's impacted with the environment, be it pollution, caused by water, air, whatever it is, right? All those really come. And new sectors have emerged to combat all this. That's where the new green job, for example, EV as an alternative, right? As a renewable energy as an alternative. When I say renewable energy, solar is one of it. It's not the only of it, right? Now there are wind, there are, tidal, for example, there are waves. There are several other new sectors we have really seen coming up. There's something called carbon sink. There is a lot to be done. Even the carbon collection and then resolving as to where do you really dump those carbon, right? Those are the new sectors which are really emerging. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of innovation to be done, to be very honest. That's where we really seen. And see, this is a problem created by everybody. All of us emit. Okay, in any activity, what human does, anybody and everybody does emit. And that's the reason this is not specific to one department, say sustainability, which will cater it. They can be the champion, they can be the leader, but each and every individual in all department, cutting across department, have to participate. Not only department, when an organization point of view, individually, you need to be accountable, you need to be responsible, you need to bring those changes in our lifestyle, the way we think, and we, follow through.
What is the awareness? I mean, I'm sure that you are looking at the green jobs or other the green industry, which is cutting across sectors. That's one good thing, which means we already had a lot of element of green in our ancestors and the way we progressed. And now this is impacting some of the new age industries like a biomass, a biofuel, carbon footprint, ink, and so on and so forth. But in terms of the awareness, if this has to cut across sectors, across levels, across departments in an organization, what is the level of awareness? Are our organizations looking to hire people with job-ready skills, or these are being built-in skills? How do you see the entire environment changing?
See, environment is changing. It's changing fast. Maybe I would say if somebody wants to take a lead, they should look up to Europe, not America, or not even Far East, but they should look up to Europe specifically. They have really taken a lot of measures where things are really making progress. Yes, it is getting momentum, I would say. That's where it stands. When I started 3 years back into this area, it was relatively very new. Not everybody was picking up. So it has picked up, and there is a lot to know. And with this PLI scheme of government, and then this Make in India as a concept, probably we need to go and integrate all of this. When you are starting a new manufacturing unit, you need to think about how are you going to source power? What is the source of the power for the unit itself? Starting from there, all green aspects. If it is awareness is not there, we need to create, and that's where corporate can come and take a lead, right? In all your training calendars or your skill enhancement for individual department, you got to put them, and more importantly, it has to be as embedded as part of the culture of the organization. Because it's going to give you additional revenues. It's going to give you access to new markets, which you have not tapped in. For example, if you want to export to Europe, at least come 2026, 1st January, there is a tax which is going to be levied called carbon border adjustment tax.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if you want to be export, right, we have a great trust on export to be done. If that is an area we are looking at, obviously we need to be. And mind you, Europe is just only a starting point. There are other regulations individual countries have come up with, which are coming up and giving those incentives. Look at our own country, right? We are Make in India, where we say that 30% has to be in-source and 70% can be, used from anywhere. Those are the kind of changes which are really, and the sectors, if you ask me, cement, steel, fertilizers, are already impacted with these changes, with the carbon border adjustment tax.
Perfect.
So we need to bring more awareness, lot to be done. Everybody has to be included. It has to be probably as KRA, it has to be in the CEO as a board. Your incentive has to be tagged to this. Those are the kind of work which need to be done.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Rahul, Mr. Rahul, I'll take the next question with you. While Mr. Sundaresan is highlighting about the cutting across the sectors and how each department, and it needs to be a part of the KRAs, then interestingly, there will be a change. However, as per you, our report highlights few key growth drivers in India for the green industry to flourish. One of them being government initiatives, our target to be net zero, companies to achieve their ESG credit score, green hydrogen as the alternative, climate control, e-waste management. What are your perspective on these sectors? I mean, which of these you think you as a founder CEO is one of the most important growth enabler?
Yeah, I think so. If you ask me, India is kind of in such a place right now. If you see that with the help of West, we would like to be an net exporting country. Now, even people in the West are looking at China +1, right? And that +1 typically is India. So a lot of manufacturing is also going to come to us. So if you see, environmental sector is a horizontal which is providing services to all kinds of domains, right? So the opportunities are tremendous. Currently, if you see, the environment sector is very minuscule, right? I'll give you a classical example. We are 40 years, if you see, behind Europe or in US when it comes to environmental sector, right? So we have a lot to catch and in a very short span of time. So a lot of manpower is going to be required. Existing manpower which is out there needs to be reskilled and it needs to be upskilled both, right? Another example is that, for example, India has 80% of India depends on, for example, groundwater, right? And groundwater resources are drying up very fast. We are not producing any groundwater hydrogeologists whatsoever, right? Even awareness generation about groundwater is also very at a minuscule level. So it's a huge hole, right? Niti Aayog predicts that by 2040, 2030, more than 55% of the bore wells in India would go completely dry, right? And who's going to provide this solution? See, to increase farmers' income, we can give them subsidy, we can give them fertilizer, we can give them insecticide, but we cannot give them water in their wells, no? So for that, work needs to be done. And there are many stakeholders. We just talked about industry right now, but there are NGOs, there are CSRs who are working on these things, right? There are industries also working aggressively on this. Now, with more export-oriented economies, in the Western culture, if you see, the reporting on their stock exchanges has evolved to more of environmental reporting as well. And now they are asking the countries in the West to also push this environmental reporting in their supply chains as well. And if India is going to be one of the biggest supply chain providers, then basically all those are also going to come to us. That is an external pressure which is going to come to us on the reporting on environment, undertaking rainwater harvesting, undertaking many carbon neutral technologies. At the same time, what I also see is that the internal need also is going to be tremendous, because if you see 70 years ago, India was getting around 7,000 cubic meter per capita per year. That kind of a water availability was there, right? Now we have already reached, because of the population increase and because of the increase in the virtual water requirement of any industry and domestic and agriculture together, we have reached to 1,700. And in next 5 to 10 years, we would reach around 1,400 to 1,100, where 1,700 is a safe limit, right? So internally also, there is going to be a lot of pressure on the natural resources, which the environment engineers or environment related skill set owning people have to work on. Unless we do that, we as a growing country, we cannot grow. Then now there is a difference between growth and development as well, right? Currently, we are just growing. We are not yet developing, right? So that also needs to take into consideration, is that are we growing as a cancer or are we growing as a healthy human body, right? As a country. So there are a lot of pressures. There are a lot of problems, in my opinion. And each one of those problems, in my opinion, is a tremendous opportunity, either for industries to get into, solve those problems, or as an entrepreneur as well.
Sure. Thank you for your inputs. That takes me to a question with Yuvraj. Yuvraj, e-mobility is one of the most promising sector industry that has been contributing towards green jobs, rather the green employment area. What do you see are the top emerging roles within e-mobility as an industry that has flourished in the last few years, or what could be the upcoming top roles in e-mobility segment?
Sure. Thank you, first of all, TeamLease, for this forum where we are able to discuss this very interesting topic. I would like to share that, when it comes to electric mobility or electric vehicle, more than 50% components are different. And there is a tectonic shift in the technology itself, which, creates a whole new skill set requirement when it comes to people who are building this technology or managing this technology. See, we've been hearing this term mechanic as being a long term where, we need a mechanic to fix a car. Tomorrow, you would need an electrician to fix your car, because that's how a mechanic's role is going to shift to an electrician, because most of the car requires skills such as softwares or electronics or electrical engineering. You know, there are motors, there are batteries, there are controllers, there are wiring harnesses. All these components create new skill set requirement. So when it comes to job roles, you know, if you are to build a business around electromobility, you need to have engineers, you know, especially engineers who are working in the electronic space, who understand how electronics are working, because there's a controller which controls motor and batteries and stuff. Battery itself has something called as battery management system, which is also an electronic chip, which has a software embedded. So just to give you an example, today, if you look at any electric vehicle company, they would have a huge team of software engineers who are actually working on software for batteries and motors and controllers, etc. Then there are, because, you know, an electric car comes with a lot of digital displays and interfaces like apps. So those are all supported by a team of software engineers or app developers, etc. Then you have engineers who are also having knowledge of, you know, chemical science, because you are building batteries, you are generating you are developing next generation of batteries, which are different chemistries such as LFP, NMC, etc. So you need to have battery expert who understand chemicals, how these chemicals are creating, you know, how energy density is kind of varying between different chemistries, and how is it impacting the businesses, right? Then so this is on the technical side where you need these kind of engineers, and hence, you know, you kind of need a CTO who has, unlike traditional automotive where you would have a mechanical engineer growing up to a CTO, here the CTO could be coming from mechanical, electrical, electronic, or some computer science background, and because he needs to have a system level kind of an understanding in the electromobility space. Then when it comes to business side, there is a lot of business model level innovation that is happening. You know, there are financial analysts who are coming into play, who are trying to come up and play around with models like mobility as a service, battery as a service. There are financial models built around making electromobility work for someone. So lot of business analysts are becoming part of it, lot of program managers, because there are multiple parts when you run an electromobility business, and especially today where electromobility is deployed in fleets. You have to manage the fleet operator, you have to manage the driver, you have to manage the vehicle OEM, you have to manage the charging infrastructure. So you need a program manager who's also you know, trying to coordinate between multiple parties. It's a complex business, and hence you need more entrepreneurial mindset and skills to be able to solve these problems which are on the ground. Use arithmetic to solve this in the Excel, and obviously you need to have a good team of engineers who are building technology. So, you know, electromobility as a space is kind of changing, and now with AI coming into picture, the role of software is becoming even more important. You know, now there are prompt engineers who are trying to create the right prompt for AI to be able to support some of these internal processes or internal analytics of an electromobility company.
Very
So
interesting.
very you know, new kind of roles which a lot of people have not even thought about 5 years. Probably some of those roles were never existing. I'll just give you one very good example. I hired a person from a transport planning background as a network planner, and you know, to help me plan the charging infrastructure network. So we are trying to use skill sets which are something earlier were thought of as macro level skills. Like transport planner was always considered in the context of urban planning. Now you can actually use that as part of the organizational growth, development, and business expansion as well. So these are some of the roles that are being created by electromobility space.
Now, I think you circled it back to where Sunil started highlighting, the demand-supply gap, the skill and the reskilling and upskilling gap. And since we touched upon the technical, the soft skills, and the technology hirings across that are happening in the e-mobility or any such green industry space, Sunil, the report also speaks about the major skill gap, which for jobs which are green and for skills which are green but transforming to the green industry. What do you think, how organizations are trying to upskill, reskill candidates and their own employees? What are institutions doing about this to kind of have a better employment ratio towards the green industry? I mean, please share some highlights. Do we see challenges in the placement? Do we see high rejection in jobs, in candidate applications while hiring?
Yeah, to start with, I would want to give an anecdote about myself. So I have heard so much about green jobs and ESG, but unfortunately, I never thought of diving deep into it because somewhere it was not bothering me because I'm doing my job. But in one of my courses with Berkeley, I had a. That's when I said, "Oh my God, this is what they are going to teach me." So then I started doing research because we need to prepare and go. And we had a very famous professor of Berkeley who came and taught us ESG. And then I realized that, so how large is this space and, how much more we need to learn about this, even if I have to be heading an organization, there is so much in the ESG space, which we are already doing. Actually, I was, I think yesterday I was telling Sundar that, what we do, the jobs, what we provide jobs is part of ESG framework, actually. So providing employment is part of ESG framework. And that's when I started diving deep and understanding this. So what I want to, in summary, what I want to say is that I got upskilled to understand about ESG, and now I'm becoming a little, more, interested in this segment and looking at every role. Like even Yuvraj said that, there are people who are doing different roles, but in future they might be doing a role which is related to green energy or related to e-mobility, related to ESG. So do we have a ready-made, readily available talent for all the roles what are coming up in the ESG space and green energy? I would say no, because like I never had this as a subject in my college. So obviously I didn't know about that, but now I got an opportunity to learn about it. So maybe in the future generations, this is a part of their curriculum, so they know much better than us. They understand that, and the pipeline can become stronger. But in the interim, in the next 1 decade, how do we fill this? So we need to repair, prepare, and upskill. We need to repurpose people. We need to educate them, and there is a lot of work which every organization need to do in this space. I think a orientation program on what is ESG, where are the green jobs, and what you are doing, how much is your contribution, how can your contribution change to ESG space. I think all this requires a complete revamping of the process. I think the tone from the top should actually start and engage with the employees, first with the leadership level, and then with the lower levels. There should be campaigns, there should be trainings, and there should be an awareness campaign, just like how we had polio awareness campaign with a vision to eradicate polio. I think we also need to have a very large scale program across the corporate sector so that everybody understand this. Otherwise, you will find people like me who didn't know maybe 3 years back what is ESG. I am late to come to the party, but now I am picking up. So there are a lot of people like this in every industry, every sector, and they will be surprised to know that what they are doing can be done differently or can be done more to contribute to ESG or our normal way of living. If we can slightly modify, we may be contributing towards the net zero target of the country and of the globe. That's my view. I don't know if our eminent panelists will agree with my view, but that's my overall view.
I think you said it all, if you ask me. You talked about people, probably repairing, themselves, right? If you ask me, it was always there in our tradition. We had that, we lost it. We got into the linear consumption model. We have to move back to circular consumption model.
Yes.
People have to adopt some 6S, right? So what are the 6S? Rethink. How do you want to be? What do you want to be? Is it the right material? Is it the right product? What you're selecting? And do you need it? For sure, right? Refuse it. If something is not sustainable, start doing that, refusing it. Reduce your consumption. You have to think, do you really need it? That's when you should go and buy, not into the, consumption mode of get 10 t-shirts for me or 25 X thing of me and so on and so forth. Reduce that. Reuse it. We used to have probably our furnitures in our home for several years. If you go and ask our dads, right? Now it is rip and replace every next year, or new furnitures would come. So
Fast fashion.
reuse.
I think it is termed as fast fashion,
So
which
you
replaces.
don't,
Yeah.
you don't buy, right? You hire it. There are options available, right? So you have to get into that reuse model, right? Repair and recycle. Repair has to be another industry, right? Somebody talked about the producers, what I say, responsibility. They have to create mechanism to collect back the used material or old material. How the industry is changing today, for example, in the West, at least I see, all these white goods, they come up with now 15 years and 20 years of warranty. There are chairs in India available at 15 years of warranty. There are chairs available at 1 year of warranty. But those are the kind of product we have to shift ourselves, right? I think Rahul talked about reporting in short, right? I want to really elaborate that. Now there is something called integrated reporting, where you have business financials and sustainability integrated together. It gives better view for your shareholders, for your employees, for your stakeholders, for your customers, everybody, where this company is leading. Say, for example, if a chemical company or a detergent company makes a small change, because of that X billion liters of water will get reduced in washing. Okay, it makes sense from as an investor of the company. That's where you should move. It says that this is futuristic company thinking sustainability. What Rahul talked about, right? Importantly, of reducing and managing water as such. How do we bring those elements? So that's the right company for you, and that's the right company for an as a looking forward employer. I would love to join. So sustainability is not a fashion statement anymore. It is a basic trait. If you are looking to even attract new talent, you need to have that element in all aspects. In your interview, probably you need to have those questions. What is your view on sustainability?
Yes.
What is your organization doing for sustainability? How are you contributing? Right? Those are the aspects, and each and every point, single things you need to do, you need to think, how can I be more sustainable? Pest, for example, can I get out of this chemical based pest to a natural based pest?
Yeah.
Every damn thing. So this integrated reporting, what I stated, is a reporting of financials and sustainability together, and it is not new. There are more than 35-40 companies, top companies like Tata's, Reliance, ITC's, Mahindras, and already practicing. Every company should try and adopt and move, and we have to move from this linear thinking to circular thinking, and that's when we can attract. There are new investments available in the market. FII wants to put in money on the companies which are going to be attracting this. So, Yuvraj talked about very important aspect. How do you really demonstrate all this? You need technology, you need data to prove your point. There are authorities who are coming up who need to validate as a third party, really need to bring that up, right? He talked about how do you get emission of a product. It's a very challenging, it's a mammoth task. Believe me, I'm currently doing that. It's not easy. I can understand what Yuvraj was talking about from a battery point of view. I'm going through every day, and it is not easy. It is super complex. We in India, as a software giant, have been dwelled into it. It is important. In fact, each software what we are developing right now have to be looked at with sustainability. What kind of power emission it's going to have? Because every individual, the Teams or the Zooms, what we are using, we need to know how much it's going to emit. That's when we have hundreds and thousands of people using it, right? So that's the mind shift each and every software development or developed has to really undergo. So opportunity is phenomenal. You touch the sector, you have it.
That's interesting to know. In fact, since we all are speaking about the how difficult it is to kind of adapt this and to practice this from a day-to-day routine standpoint, as an aspiring job seeker, my question to Rahul and Yuvraj will be: what are the few things that I should upskill myself as a fresher job seeker? While we know that the green skills within the green job industry are growing by an average of over 12%, but the non-green skills which are transitioning are growing by almost 50%, which means today if I want to look for a job within the industry green, which is impacting, what do you think that are few things that I should keep in mind? What are the few areas that I should be practicing and preparing myself on?
So actually, if you ask me, green industries are going to be the software industries of tomorrow, in a sense, in terms of growth, in terms of talent acquisition, talent growth, etc., etc. Because now, as we know, ChatGPT is here, AI is here, it's going to write code, right? So many people in the IT industry are going to be losing their jobs at some point in time, right? But in environment, nothing of that sort can happen because everything is actual, factual, on the ground, right? And you cannot just get rid of an environment engineer if you want to make some tangible impact on the ground. So I see environment to be the next big thing which is going to happen, because as I said, 99.999% of the people in the world are going behind consumption, right? Because consumption is the yardstick on which growth of an economy is measured, right? And everybody wants to be a high GDP kind of a country, right? And we are seeing higher and higher consumption patterns. So 99.999% of the people are going to consume, and every consumption is going to generate pollution, generate negative socioeconomic, environmental impacts on the surroundings. And as we know, we already are consuming more than 1.2 times than what nature can provide us sustainably, right? So there is so much of rush which is happening towards "Bada hai to behtar hai, dil mange more," all these slogans we know. So everybody is going behind more and more consumption, but 0.0001% of the people today are trying to work on the environment, right? How do you convert, like Sundaresan ji said, basically, how do you convert a linear economy into a circular economy? That's just like I mentioned, in the West, typically, after especially World War II, everything was linear in nature, right? When in the Indian context, we used to say, no, it's all circular, right? The use of cow for its dung, its use of bull for the farming, everything, like we had a fantastic circular economy system, as a matter of fact, but now it's broken systematically over last 100, 150 years. Now, again, we are going back to the roots because the Europeans are again going back to the circular economy practices. They're at least trying. So we are also going towards that. So what we also need to do is that we also need to look into our traditions. We also look into how we were, who we were, how we were managing our business. Yes, now there is a pressure of more consumption, more and different types of consumptions, plus the population increase, plus the climate change. So many of these things are coming up. And if you ask me, even
our report is also highlighting about the same sectors, largely in renewable energy. Wind is where you see a lot of job growth happening. Region-wise, also there is a lot of information in terms of how the north segment is expected to rise in the green jobs. My question to Yuvraj would be that while Sundaresan and Mr. Rahul are speaking about these heavy-weighted sectors of renewable energy and wind and solar, I see a lot of trend happening around industries as simple as retail banking. And we see green jobs in retail banking as an industry to grow by 20%, latest by 2030, which means I'm talking about roles like a green growth loan officer, a sustainability analyst, a carbon emissions manager. How do you see these roles? I mean, for an aspiring individual, are these roles available? Will they be the future of the job market in green industry?
Sure. But before I answer this question, I want to talk about a fundamental point, which is actually answering your previous question. As an aspiring job seeker, what do I need to have to get into this field? I feel there's only one skill set that you need. It's an attitude. You have to have that mindset of being sustainable, of creating an impact, of making this world a better place. Just with that mindset, whatever skills you have, whatever education you've done, you can find an application of that skill, of that education into green. Because the core fundamental skills are same. It's the same kind of engineering streams, the business knowledge, or whether you talk about science knowledge, physics, chemistry, maths, the fundamentals are the same. It's about how people have applied their fundamental knowledge into businesses which are creating meaningful impact or which are solving a climate problem. Okay. And another thing I want to talk about, and this is now from the business perspective, that to attract green, to attract talent into if you are a sustainable business, you have to also be cool. Look at Tesla, how cool they are. People are joining Tesla not because they are green, but because they are cool. And you have to bring in that element of coolness. And there are so many umpteen number of D2C brands which are offering sustainable packaging, a sustainable kind of whatever food way, the way it is processed, cold press oils, all the points that Sundaresan mentioned, right? We are going back to our roots.
Absolutely.
We are trying. So we had we had virgin coconut oil. We started with that. Then over time, we shifted to whatever chemical processed oil. And then now we charge 2 times.
Yes.
And now with the same virgin coconut oil is being charged another 2 times that oil and sold to the customers, right? And customers are buying not because, this was something has been there, but because they think it is cool.
Yeah.
They think science is cool. They think sustainability is cool. They think us contributing to nature is cool, right? You
Science
have to,
fine.
Yeah, you have to kind of package the whole thing, into something which shows future progress, and hence, people will get attracted towards business, right? That's why you see a lot of people applying for, now coming to your banking career, right? People are applying for those kind of roles, not because probably they think that this is something which is, sustainable, but they think this is for the future. This is gonna be there for the next 50 years, right? Carbon credits, green funding, evaluate those platinum ratings for those buildings, specific impact funds, all these roles within the finance. There are so many today investors or funds which are specifically targeting companies, whether to do debt or in equity based investment, but purely looking at the impact that company is making. A lot of companies who have their charitable foundations have directed their flows into investments or donations into those kind of fields. But at the same time, you see, there is a, I think there was one point raised about 15 years warranty for a chair. If you talk to me as a consumer, I would never buy a thing which has a 15-year warranty, because my mindset, as part of human evolution, has started to change. I am looking for that change every 5 years. So what do I do as a consumer? Because I have that consumer mentality. I want to also consume more. So that's when sharing economy comes into play. We rent, use it, reuse it, by the loved, they use very cool term. Yeah, I'll give you example. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and what we bought for her are called pre-loved books. These are books used by some other children. They have used it and we are buying it. And now because it is cool, right? It is saying pre-loved. It also adds that pride in kind of using or reusing the same thing. And obviously we want to consume more, so he has more books. So our consumption, as I think in India today, we are where probably United States of America was 40 years back in terms of our consumption appetite. It's only going to grow. All we have to do as community is to have this growth be done using sharing economy. How do we share stuff? Like Sundaresan mentioned, how do we repurpose, recycle, repair, but we do it in a different way? I mean, there are some apprehensions about using a repaired product, but how that repaired product, when they are called refurbished product and they are sold into another market for recycling. So that's another way of doing, or cooler way of doing, which is also appealing this generation who has a very high appetite today. They have huge consumption, they can
They
consume
think broad.
at much
They
level.
think broad. I think they constantly think about contributing in some or the other way. This is how the younger generation today is perceiving, and they are. I mean, if you and I would have been given something few years back which was used, we possibly would have taken out a different, understanding about it. But today's kids are far more different. Their thought processes are different. In fact, that takes me to another question to Sunil. Since Yuvraj mentioned this industry is cool, it is more favorable, it is adapting to the new age culture. How do you see women growth in this sector? While we see that the contribution is less for females in this workforce, however, the female contribution towards leadership and team management roles is relatively better as compared to other industries. So do you see the rise? What could be some of the favorable things, and why should, as a woman, one consider a job role in this industry?
Interesting question. Before that, on a lighter note, on the topic what Yuvraj was speaking, I also read a lot about greenwashing. So, there are so many products. Everybody says, green now, and then it's greenwashing. Similarly, I'm not sure if this industry is growing, you will have green jobs, which are again greenwashing. So we don't know. So I'm just anticipating that, people may be just saying it's a green job, but it may not be a green job. Coming back to your point on women, aren't women naturally, believe they are those who believe in repair and recycle, and I have never seen somebody throwing the night food, at home. They would try to repurpose it. If moong ka dal bach gaya, to next day moong ka paratha ban jayega. Correct? That's how the tradition has been. Even in the olden days, if there is a lot of rice, left, they would make something out of it. In the next day they dry it and then make some appalam or something in South India. So traditionally women have a more understanding of I would say sustainability and green. So that's the reason.
There's a natural instinct possibility.
Yeah, it's a natural instinct. So that may be the reason why they are picking up quickly, and we are seeing more in the leadership role. And maybe the organization also believe that, they are the right people who can be quickly, put into this role. Obviously, none of them came from a background of sustainability or green jobs, because as we discussed, we didn't have that in our system. It's something which is new roles which got created. So people have been repurposed. They are getting repaired and placed there. So it may be a good idea to have women in the leadership roles, not undermining the roles of Sundar, Yuvraj and Rahul. But I'm just saying that, we need to do a lot more than what we are doing for women. There is so much of debate happening in the parliament as such on the women reservation currently. So everywhere we need to do that. And the gap in the middle and junior level for women is a real for every sector now. Not just green or ESG, it is the same for your other sectors also. We have a lot of road to cover there, and I'm not sure how we can cover that. The only way we can do some progress in that is to get more people into these roles. And that's where I think company like TeamLease can come into play, where we can attract more women to these roles. We can help them to upskill or repurpose their skills to green jobs and place them with organizations. So it's not going to be a short-term strategy. It is a long-term effort which will require multi-year effort to build the pipeline, because it is only by then we will see the new age well trained or well educated in the green curriculum will come into the pipeline. So as a tactical step to fill in this gap, we need to do much more than what we are doing.
Absolutely.
I just want to add here that, it's actually interlinked.
Yeah.
The companies who are thinking sustainability or who are thinking circularity are also thinking about equality and equity for women.
Yeah.
And it's the circle, that virtuous circle. When you start to think about those elements, automatically the other elements come into play. That when we are thinking about the whole sustainability as a paradigm across our business, for the products and also for our employees, how we should get women. So and at Volvo, the moment we started thinking about sustainability as a thought process into our products, we started to look at the whole aspect of our value chain, including our employment. And we had our own targets of getting at least 35% women employment across all levels. So I feel it's again a mindset and a thought process. Once you are into that thought process, everything you look into it will be in that frame of reference, and it won't be that you look that only my products are green but my everything else is unbalanced. It won't happen, because when you start to think from that point of view, you will ensure your entire supply chain and value chain is sustainable and circular.
Fantastic.
Very interesting.
Got to do with more with the market, right? The access to the market. If you want to have a diverse access to your product or services, you need to have, you talked about ESG, right, Sunil? The
Yes.
S is somewhat equal to DEI. Okay.
Yeah.
And the D is not only women today. The D is your LGBT, your, other
PWDs.
people and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It's all inclusive. If you as a company are designing a product, if you have those elements as a thought process, Yuvraj mentioned a very important word, rethink, right? I also mentioned rethink has to be the main epicenter. To be it in your design thinking or whatever you want to do it, but that's where it has to really go and settle, and what market you want to address and how it will really go. Because why it is important, the West has come up with a lot of things called product passport, right? If you go and buy a product, you need to know what is the origin of that product is. Okay, what material it is used. Leather is now getting replaced with vegan leathers. Okay, so those are the kind of things. And believe me, the scope 3 is the biggest. Indirect emission is the biggest, and the problem really lies there. That's the reason, phenomenal opportunity for procurement, supply chain guys. For digitizing that is even more complex, because you need to know you need to come from that background of that function. You need to know how it can be digitized. And the third element is sustainability. You have to start thinking those two aspects with those, narration into it.
Correct.
I think we have some fantastic views and thoughts, and the subject is so vast, because since it is part of every industry and sector, but in the interest of time, and since our viewers are logged in here, we'll take up a few questions which somewhere will also cut to the discussion that we're having. And Rahul, let's take up the first question for you, which actually relates back to what Sunil mentioned as a last point of saying that we reach to a stage where, we will have those specific curriculums that are designed to meet the green job requirement in the future. Having said that done, currently, do you see any specific certifications or programs that one can learn or upskill through to enter into a green job market? And if there are, then which are those kind of institutions that one should fall back on?
So actually, there is nothing which is specific on green jobs as such, but there are many companies many universities, colleges who are teaching environment science, environment engineering. Many are also getting into even some of the mechanical engineering streams are also now teaching some of because with the new education policy, there's going to be a major, minor, that kind of an approach towards education. So that's also going to increase the scope of, mechanical or a civil engineer need not be only taking only those subjects, right? They also can do a minor in environment science. So there would be many such opportunities which would be out there, certainly, right? These opportunities are something which are going to be required very much if we have to grow at even 7%, 8% GDP.
Absolutely. Interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sundaresan, as an organization, do you see, more industries and sectors coming forward to partner with institutions, government, to bring up such design courses, curriculums, which can create job-ready students? Yeah, right. We have we have talent, but we do also need experience. And how does those kind of things, like for example, we have a lot of organizations today collaborating to kind of set up maybe R&D labs, innovation centers, robotics laboratories, where there is an in-field experience given to students in their final year with about 6 months, 9 months training, and then absorb. Do you see this happening? Has it already started?
Yes, it has started, and it has been there, I would say, for quite some time now, and sustainability is looked at as one of the parameters. I would say for anybody to start, probably first read those 17 SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, understand, imbibe that in your soul, so that you actually start thinking what is that which you're doing, and what I can do to improve, and how do I fit what I'm doing first of all, and it will give you a direction. It's a directional document, I would say. There are definitely a lot of courses, even by the UN, UNITAR and UNDP and other things which are available. And of course, Sunil mentioned about elite institute like Berkshire offering some of this. The Cambridge is also one of the top notch into sustainability as a career. Even for board members have to change the way they think, right? Because that's when they can give direction to an organization. So it's not that they're not eligible for any kind of training. There are specific trainings which will help you to think and drive the organization, ask the right questions so that people move in that direction, right? So at all level, trainings are required, no doubt about it. Not one specific. You have to go and coin yourself what will make a difference. Now, for example, a very simple thing, cement industry is undergoing phenomenal change because they can't export. So what people have seen, at least in the West, again, is demolition waste is 20-25% is getting used in getting used in cement manufacturing, and 30% of demolition waste is getting used in concrete. Right? So that's the innovative way how people are entering and getting into it.
That's interesting. Yuvraj, as an organization, do you see any learnings that Indian companies or organizations setting up here should be adapting from the global trends across within the green segment?
He already replied, if you ask me, just sorry, because he said about new investments. Right? Yes. He will attract new investment. Unless and until you do this, you won't be in a position to attract, even for existing and the new organization. You were not sorry to pick that up.
No. So in that question, then let's look at it from the government point of view. What are some of the initiatives that our government today? I mean, there's a lot which is happening. While Rahul did speak about there's a lot to be yet done, and there's always a scope for improvisation, but there's already a lot which the government is doing is happening. There's constantly, investments, initiatives, policies, FDIs being looked at. What are the few interesting trends that the government today is taking, and what do you think should be done more here?
See, I think over the last 10 years or so, what I'm seeing, there is a clear intent of the government to work towards the sustainability goals, as whatever is kind of stated under those COP summits or, climate summits, etc. And there are multiple industries which are contributing to emissions. There are multiple industries which are impacting sustainability. Government is trying to pick those industries, and government is addressing them one by one, which I really appreciate that effort, and I feel that is a step in the right direction. You look at electromobility, there's is considered as a sector, and it came from two aspects. One, it came from an aspect that we want to reduce our oil imports. And electromobility is a technological solution to reduce our oil import. But the outcome or byproduct of it is actually a green industry. Similarly, hydrogen, the green hydrogen mission, that has been now another government policy which has come into force, is again coming from a point of view of solving problem that today industries are relying on various unsustainable ways to generate energy for their factories or for their businesses. How can we offer them a solution which is a source of energy indigenously developed, produced by using green sources, and offer to them that reduces their cost of energy procurement and usage, and the byproduct is that there are no emissions. So that is creating a new whole gamut of things under the whole national green hydrogen mission, right? Then each of these aspects, whether it is in textiles, whether it is in biofuels, whether it is in plastic use and stuff, there are industries being taken. There is, I would kind of have a view that there is no thing like think of it as a generic term. You have to think of this term in your context.
Understood.
Right? Sustainability is not an industry, but sustainability is an approach in your industry, and you have to look at in your industry how you can solve that problem. And that's how government is also looking at it, which is a good step. I think government should look at every such industry and say, how do I solve the problem for this industry? And by converting that into sustainability, which in turn also reduces cost and creates newer job opportunities and export products.
True.
I think just last one point is that basically the government can also look at how they can develop the National Skill Development Corporation, right? Those kinds of schemes, how they can apply to environmental related education as well, because then that will be through those channels we'll be able to scale up many of the environment education related courses.
No, that's interesting. In fact, Rahul, that also leads us to a statement, and you'll agree with us saying that the government today, while in its initiatives, is still, there's a lot of regulatory challenges that we are facing in this sector, whether it could be standardization of the policies across the state, or it could be leveraging the available resources, how the simple transition, of your renewable into your current power grid. That itself is a big challenge, knowing the demographics of our country. However, I think there's a lot which is happening, and as leaders, all of you as industry and as human beings contributing to the nature, which is what Mr. Sundaresan said, I think we all need to make our own contributions. We lead our own part, so it starts with me and then it kind of transitions. Before we want to end this, Sunil, a few closing comments from your end in terms of telling us when the report will be out, and how do we, what TeamLease will possibly be doing in the coming months on green as an industry.
Munira, if I may, just
yes,
one
please.
second. Okay. I definitely want to bring up one thing called innovation, okay, which India can really lead from the front. Okay, this can be our era because we have a lot of people who got mind with this attitude of finding solution for a problem is always there with us. And there are new areas which we have not explored. It's available. Earlier, people used to think, what should I do?
Yes.
Now that problem is solved. There are problems everywhere. How can you contribute to make it happen? Simple thing like algae farming. Never thought. We have always said algae we don't want. How do we really do? Right? How do we use ocean to generate power? How to solve some of those issues? Carbon sink, right? We can plant, there is a limitation, but the more we grow algae on the ocean, those are unexplored area. I think Rahul talked about carbon market, right? Yeah. Carbon emission market, resale. India can be playing a dominant role because weather condition is in our favor. We have sun, we have ocean, everything is in our favor. We have people, our education system, the thought process, everything works. It can be a boon for India.
Definitely. No, I completely agree, and I think that's how we see that it's all green for us. The signals are green, everything is ready for us. It's just that how we move ahead, how we kind of transition this, and there's a lot which is happening across these sectors and industries. What you said is, I completely agree with you that we are actually on an innovation spree. Constantly, people are thinking about. I mean, today our children want to be entrepreneurs. They want to create something. While they want to work for someone, that's there, but they also constantly at the back of their mind, they have that impression of thought saying that I also will create this. So that itself is a lead towards any kind of an innovation, and that's well said. So thank you very much for adding that point. Sunil, are you there with us?
I think it gets
possibly we have a technical glitch with Sunil, I think. So nevertheless, I think we had a wonderful session with all of you here, and on behalf of TeamLease Digital, Sunil and myself, we thank you all for contributing your thoughts, views, sparing time to share your views with our viewers and audiences. We have lots of questions here, but in the interest of time, we are not able to cover them. I will share it with the panelists on a separate email and have the answers pulled in back and then share them on the platforms. We also want you all to please wait for our report launch in the first week of October. Share your feedbacks and comment. The report will be available on all the social media platforms and through our website by just downloading as a link. Yeah. Any feedback, any more pointers that we want you to share, welcome. Please add them to our list. It helps us in our future reviews and reports and papers. Thank you very much, Mr. Sundaresan, Mr. Rahul, and Mr. Yuvraj for joining us and making this session so interesting.
Thank you. Thanks to Rahul.
Thank you, Sunil, for your contribution as well. Thank you, TeamLease Digital.
Yeah, I want to leave with one thought. We know the problem. What are we waiting for?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.